Time being 7:30, I'll call this meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. This is going to be a public hearing for the West Bridgewater Housing Authority for the Arrested Drive housing unit. I'll start out by introducing the board. On my far right is Tony Kinahan, James Noyes, our new town planner, Tracy Aldridge. On my far left is Jerry Stetson, and our recording secretary is Donna Carter, and I'm Hugh Hurley, the chairman. I'll start off by reading the notice as it appeared in the Brockton Enterprise on January 10th and January 17th, 2023. Notice is hereby given pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 4.4, Residential Unit, Number 5, Adult Retirement, Section 4.6, Water Resource Protection District, and Section 7.2, Site Plan Approval submitted by Winslow Architects on behalf of the West Bridgewater Housing Authority. The West Bridgewater Planning Board will hold a public hearing on special permit site plan review on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023 at 7:30 in the McDonald Brown Conference Room at Town Hall. The intent of the plan is to renovate and add to two existing one-bedroom units to create two fully accessible units and related driveway, parking, sidewalks, and ramps throughout the property located at number 5 and number 7 Esther Drive. A special permit is required for activity in the Water Resource Protection District. The site plan review is part of the special permit process, and it's signed by the planning board. This is a public hearing, and everybody will get a chance to ask any questions and concerns that they may have, and we will try to get an answer for you. We'll start out by having a presentation by the proponent's architect and explain what it is. After that, with the planning board, we'll do some discussion on it, and then I'll open it up to the public for any comments that you might have. And we like to hear them because quite often the neighbors know more about the area than we do. We just drive by, and the neighbors live right next to it, and they know what's going on. So it's informative for us as well as for the general public. If you do wish to speak, I would like you to identify yourself and wait to be acknowledged by the chair, and try to keep it on the subject at hand. With that being said, I'll let the architect introduce himself.
Okay, I'm Phil Reville, architect from Winslow Architects. Thanks for having me. And we've got Betty here from the West Bridgewater Housing Authority, and we've got Katie, who is our civil engineer on the project, who, after I briefly introduce the project, will be explaining a little bit more about the site work that we're planning. I see you guys all have a plan set, so I can talk off of that. The main purpose of this project is to add those two accessible units that you spoke about, and those are going on building 5. If you look, probably C103 is your easiest site plan to work off of. Yeah, thank you. So this is the West Bridgewater Housing Authority development down on Esther Drive. It consists of 6 buildings and a community center that contains an office as well as a maintenance shed. What we are proposing is to put an addition on building 5 that enlarges 2 of the units to be fully accessible, fully handicap accessible, and then a large portion.
Which one is 5?
Right here.
Okay.
So it's the closest one to the community building, and we're providing new accessible parking spaces to it, as well as ramps to access the building. The predominant feature of the project, as you can see, is that we're redoing all of the sidewalks and parking lot area and paving throughout, rerouting some of the access to buildings to make for better circulation. And one of the main reasons that we're here is because, as you mentioned, we're within the water resource protection area. You can see attached in this line here, the property already kind of impedes upon those setbacks.
Well, that's the wetland line you're pointing out.
The wetland line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water resources, the aquifer underneath.
Right.
The Conservation Commission handles where the wetlands are. So what we're interested in is its effect on the aquifer underneath. Because if you come out on Matfield Street and go across the street, probably less than 1,000 feet would be in our well field.
Ah. Okay. Well, I will let Katie speak a little bit more to that shortly. But essentially, the only architectural work that we're doing happens at Building 5. And it's just the expansion of that, and you'll see that throughout the architectural drawing set. The rest of the work has to do with the site work, as I mentioned, the paving, the sidewalks, more or less replacing what's there and adding some additional parking. I think we're going from 48 to 65. So I will turn it over to Katie to talk a little bit more about the site, and then feel free to ask us whatever questions you might have after that.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Andrewchuk. I am with Allen and Major Associates here tonight on behalf of the West Bridgewater Housing Authority. As we were talking about, Building 5 is being expanded. The project is accessibility for units. It's also accessibility and maintenance for the existing hardscape on site. All of the sidewalks around the buildings that have not previously been touched are being reconstructed for ADA compliance. That also includes the parking lot. There's 48 units on site. Currently, there are only 48 parking spaces, so the site itself is lacking, 2 parking spaces per unit for staff and for maintenance. So we, just by restriping the parking lot and expanding about 3,000 plus or minus square feet, we are adding an additional 17 parking spaces. All of the watershed from the improvements will still all be the same. There are 2 existing catch basins down near Building 5. Those connect in daylight to the south of the property. Currently, that is to remain as it is. Again, everything will still, the whole watershed to what you see now, or what is out there, is currently proposed to remain. There is, we do address, this is a public project, it will go out to public bid. Most of all the already developed site area that's staying, all of the work with the exception of some of the islands around the existing parking spaces to expand them into paved parking spaces. We do include a spill prevention plan because we are in the aquifer that is on the notes and abbreviation page, and it's taken from the regulations from the town of West Bridgewater.
Excuse me,
Yep.
do we have a copy of the civil plans?
Yeah, they should be at the beginning of the set.
And here, may I just jump in for
Yeah.
Is somebody driving a Chevy Silverado pickup?
Yeah.
All right, you're triple parked, so somebody that's in front of you can't get out. You mind just moving the truck?
Okay.
Thanks.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Hugh. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you have the C sheets? Any of the sheets labeled with, starting with C or V, should be the civil sheets you're looking for.
At the beginning.
B is the existing conditions plan, that's what's out there now. Then C is the proposed demolition, erosion control, layout, grading plan.
So other than expanding it a little bit, you're not doing, and
No, it's
having it.
all of, I mean, the sidewalk expansion, or sidewalks are, again, out of compliance, rehab, they're deteriorating, there's trip hazards, there's certain curb cuts that have been already touched, there's been little pieces out here, we're fixing all those up, including the drive aisle, the parking spaces. It is really staying within, for the most part, already the disturbed defined areas, with some alteration to reroute a sidewalk around new parking spaces, and again, maintain passage from the buildings to the parking lot, buildings to the community building, and maintaining, there's an existing sidewalk that goes down Esther Drive that connects onto Matfield Street. Again, everything, drainage goes out to the rear of the property via the 2 existing catch basins, drainage infrastructure that's already on site.
So is the present drainage on site going to be updated to present standards?
It is going to, the catch basins are going to be cleaned and inspected. Right now, they're not called out to be replaced.
But the new standards call for oil separation where it's in a watershed district and stuff like that.
It's something that that the housing authority can discuss and to satisfy and meet those
Because I
requirements
think
for
you
the
might
oil
find
water.
conservation wanting that.
We've already gotten conservation permit approval.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
went
sorry,
in,
I should have mentioned that.
in June of this year.
Would
Same with
they
stormwater.
have oil,
Like the hoods?
Oil hoods, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And they're not being upgraded right now to water quality units. However, the sumps and the hoods out on the site are in the catch basins.
Okay, so they're all gonna be cleaned out?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep, cleaned out, no, I don't wanna say, catch basin structures will be vacuumed at the end of construction. They can also be done prior to construction, with the bid. Again, this will go out to, low bid it's gonna go out to public bid, the contractor that comes in. That will all be specified on the plans to have them clean the catch basins, so we can have them clean them before construction starts. But after the construction starts, or after construction is completed, before the project is closed out, they will clean out the catch basins, clean out the pipes. We can video camera that too, so that the housing authority has record that everything is in working order in that sense.
Jim, we can make one of the conditions that we make sure that the hoods and everything are replaced, because a lot of times when they're cleaning them out, they
They
knock
get
them
knocked
off,
down.
Mhm.
and so we'll just make that one of the conditions.
Yeah.
Yep. And in with the parking, the top of the catch basins will be rebuilt so that they are stable, that upper collar and reset when the new grate is reset to finished grade.
Are you gonna overpave the whole parking lot?
Yes, it's all being
So you're gonna have to raise all the structures anyways
Yeah,
for new pavement?
It's, the proposed is to be reclaimed right now, so that
Okay.
comes, so it's half and half. The whole entire base isn't gonna come up, but the first, not just the 3 inches, but some of the base material will all be ground up, and then it will be repaved. It is not a mill-in overlay. Mill-in overlay is when they come in and just kind of scrape the top of the asphalt. You don't really get good, any of the dips that are out there now, any of the low points, ponding areas, that doesn't really get fixed when you mill in overlay. So those first 3 inches of the asphalt will come up, same with some of the base material. That will all come in, the contractor will be required to rough grade it, fine grain it, compact it, 95%.
Well,
Rebrand
if
new
you're taking
inches.
3 inches out, you're gonna take almost all the blacktop out.
Yeah,
I would-
no,
I would
absolutely.
suspect that didn't have much more than 3 inches originally.
And that's why I don't like to mill and overlay these type of sites.
Well, if you'd milled it, you
because-
probably would've got into gravel most of the time.
Correct, absolutely. So no, this is a new, fresh,
Okay.
3 inches of asphalt. Same with the sidewalks, the concrete, there's bituminous sidewalks out here. Those will, for the most part, the base, with the exception of where it's getting shifted, the sidewalks that will be 3 new inches of bituminous asphalt on those, areas as well. So it will be a nice, clean finish, again, to eliminate tree roots and the cracks and the trip hazards that we have out there.
Well, most of that's all original, right?
It is, it is.
And it's what, gotta be 40 years?
Conservation, when I talked to them, was asking what took so long for this to happen, honestly. So, yeah, it is, my understanding, especially the roadway, is original. There's been little pieces here and there, you know, in the sidewalk. You know, I believe there's septic out here, so there's probably some, there's patches from when that utility work was done, but this is my understanding from the, you know, the biggest project on this site that the housing authorities had in regards to site improvements since it was developed, 40 or so years ago.
More like 50.
50 years ago.
1970, 71.
Yeah. So, and again, it's, it's, for the most part, it's keeping within its existing envelope. It's a site project, maintenance project from that sense. It's also converting existing units into ADA accessible units with the proper clearances. So part of this is there is that slight building expansion on Building 5, and that is just to make sure that the clearances are all met inside of the buildings here. And that's that.
I'm just out of curiosity, the sidewalk as you're coming in off of Matfield Street, a portion of it you show as alternate one, is that just gonna be a bit alternate?
It is
or-
going to be a bit alternate, yes. Ideally, we can touch everything. The housing authority is limited to the state funding, so it may be included, it may not get included. It's all going to depend on what the overall cost is and what the Department of Housing and Community Development has for this project. But it is be replacing kind, while correcting it at the same time. But what's there, if we can include it and to replace that walk, we'd like to include it and replace that walk so that we're not coming back or having to, do this under a separate project, under a second mobilization, out here.
Because all drainage runs right to the back of that lot, right?
It does.
I mean, it goes from Matfield Street downhill
Yes,
all the way.
There are only 2 existing catch basins. They're hard to see on this plan. On the existing conditions, the V101 plan, when you look at these parking spaces, there should be 2 squares. And those are the catch basins. I was out with the maintenance department. They know exactly where the head wall is at the rear of the site, that it does go and discharge to.
Has that ever been a drainage problem? It seems like a lot of pavement to go to just 2 basins way at the end. I just didn't know if that had ever, what has been a problem in the past with the water coming up and over the curb in that area.
It's nothing that's been brought to my attention the maintenance department. Sorry, this is Betty, the executive director at West Bridgewater. The maintenance crew has been there. Are you aware of any problems? No. And again, most of the existing grades out here aren't changing, on top of the, say, watershed and the amount of what that's coming to it. We're not looking, all of the finished floors, they're all remaining. We're kind of stuck in between what's there. We're not looking to raise any grades. We're not looking to do anything. In general, it's really kind of a maintenance project for what is there existing with some minor tweaks to try and provide some extra parking spaces. And then regrade the areas where the handicap spots are to make sure that they are all less than 2% in all directions, and that there is accessible paths from the units to the handicap spaces and to the community building out here.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak to it, or have any concerns, questions?
What's happening to the septic system?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nope, this is not a septic project. I know that there has been plans, I don't know, I did not work on the project, I've just seen record plans that I don't believe it's the existing septic from what was originally out here. I'm not sure when the last time it was updated, but there's nothing being done to the existing septic on this project.
And the bedroom count's not changing. Even with
Sorry?
The bedroom count isn't changing, so
Okay.
it's not even like the load is increasing.
Okay.
I mean, to have a problem with septic there, because it's such good material.
Right.
I mean, that material, you dump a glass of water and you can't find it after.
Yeah, it's, I mean, at least on the web soils, yeah, it's a soil out here, everything just soaks right in. Yeah.
I know that.
Okay, any further? You know, we have to make some findings. This is a special permit under the Water Resource Protection District. Basically, what you've got there isn't allowed use. What you do there is all allowed. It isn't. Our main concerns are when we have things going on that would affect the aquifer, which you're not. You've got good construction practices. I saw where you've got a place for the soil area to
Yep.
put in, and so you've addressed all of those issues. So really, I don't think we have too many problems, but we have to make these findings. So out of the town zoning bylaw, section 4.6.9.3A, that this is consistent with the purposes and intent of section 6.4, which is the Water Resource Protection District. B, is appropriate to the hydrology, natural topography, soils, and other characteristics of the site to be developed. You're basically not changing anything because mainly it's a business, it's a building maintenance, building upgrade, and it's and as far as everything else outside the parking lot, you're just basically replacing in kind, except for you are expanding it and enough to get you another 17 spaces. D, will not adversely affect an existing or designate a future public well. Okay, then we also, because it is a special permit in section 7.5.3.1A, the specific site is appropriate to the location for such use and structure or conditions. B, the use as developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood. C, there will be no nuisance or hazardous to vehicles, pedestrians, of volume greater than the capacity of the street to be affected. D, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. And C, access to the site over streets is appropriate for the type of vehicles involved. Does anybody have a concern or problem with any of those? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to find that that none of the above would be negative to this.
So moved.
So we have a motion,
Second.
a second, and I'm going to have everybody voting individually. Mr. Kinahan, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mr. Noyes?
Aye.
Mr. Stetson?
Yes.
Mr. Hurley also votes. So the vote is unanimous of the four present. This being a special permit, you need a super majority, which is 4 over 5 members. One of our members is absent. So you do have a vote. It is, you do have a proper vote on it. We also have to have a motion to approve the site plan as presented.
So maybe
So
I
moved.
could just interrupt over the other. Can we add in the date of the plan for future reference?
Yes.
It was issued on November 4th. I just want to make sure we're all looking at the same one, but I think we are.
Well, Donna usually should, in a notice, this one, yeah. Okay. Okay, we've got to approve the site plan for the, as presented,
Do we want to
and
add,
we want a condition on that.
Okay, that was my next question.
And the condition will be that when the catch basins are cleaned, that they will be inspected, and if the hoods and oil separating mechanisms that are not in proper order, they will be replaced.
so moved.
Okay, we can, actually, that will go to the site plan, but we haven't voted on the overall. That'll be a condition in the overall one too, but on the site plan, do we have a motion to approve the site plan and
So moved.
so notify the building
Second.
commissioner? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Kinahan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Noyes?
Yes.
Mr. Stetson?
Yes.
Mr. Hurley votes yes. We only needed a majority of three of the 5 members, so that also passes. Now we come to the approving the special permit. One of the conditions would be the one that was just stated. I don't see that this is probably one of the cleanest ones we've ever done, where it's just actually it's a minor building thing. Most of it's inside work and very little outside, and the grounds is just common maintenance, so it is pretty straightforward. So with that condition regarding the catch basins, will somebody make a motion to approve this will be to,
Before we, I was just thinking during construction, which we largely ignore, but just use water for dust control.
okay,
They could use calcium chloride, but I'd rather
okay.
less chloride.
Good point.
So,
If it's not already in the notes, we'll make sure it is in the notes. This permit will also, when this goes to public bid, all of these conditions should go out in the project manual with it. Just to add that, but no, there's dust, we address dust control, but if there's something specific, you're 100% behind
How do
it.
you normally, how had you, in your specs, how were you planning on addressing?
We have our civil specs have a note under earthwork, and we have an erosion control note with dust control. I've personally run into it, if it's not something that even is in a spec, during the pre-construction meeting, I always tell the contractor to beware, it's,
No, but does your standard one allow the use of calcium?
I don't know that off the
Okay.
top of my head, so.
But this one here, it'll be in there.
Right, this one here will
Okay.
be in it, yes.
Okay, so we have 2 conditions. Do you have it, Donna? You do, okay. Now, I will call for a motion
So moved.
to make as we normally have, a motion was made to make a positive finding the above criteria has been met with the added conditions. With that being said, how do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Kinahan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Noyes?
yes.
Mr. Stetson?
Yes.
Mr. Hurley votes yes. So we have a vote of 4 out of the 5, so we have a vote to do it. So that being said, thank you for coming in, and we look forward to this being upgraded. I know it's long overdue, and I'm glad we have an opportunity to do it. Thank you for coming in.
Excellent, thank you very
Thank you all.
much.
Thank you very much.
And also, we need a vote to close the public hearing.
I'll make motion to close the hearing.
You have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.